Okay.
So there's actually many different ways of understanding um, why it's good to continue to have what we can put in quotations as formal practice in the sense of intentionally going away and getting away from it all. And one example would be the Toyota pickup truck that's out here in the yard. If I don't use it today, tomorrow it'll crank and I can go use it tomorrow. But if I don't use it tomorrow, it'll crank the next day. But after a while, if I don't use the truck, then the battery will go down, and the battery goes down mainly because the diesel fuel leaves the engine and settles back in the tank. So now you have to start the engine long enough to get the fuel pump to put the fuel right up to the engine, and by then the battery is dead.
Mm.
Okay, so over time we lose the advantage that we gained by having, let us say, pump the fuel up. And so this is why it's good for right on through to have a bit of a formal practice so that you can get that sati going. Another example would be pushing a car off. When a car is sitting still on a flat plane, it takes some effort to push it. Once you get it going, you can get it going at 1 or 2 miles an hour. And if you keep your hand on the car and keep walking along with it, the car will continue to run at about 1 mile an hour, about walking speed, so long as you keep pushing as you're walking, taking effort along the way. But if you stop and rest, then the car is going to stop too. Not immediately, but it will slow down and stop. Another way of looking at it is that when we go back on automatic pilot, we might be able to navigate for a while, but generally we'll crash into the tree or go into a ditch because we're not watching where we're going anymore, even though we had built up that skill. So these are the kind of things that we want to understand of why it's good to have a formal practice. Now, let's define what's a formal practice. And then we can complete that circle. So when I'm using the word formal practice, I'm talking about intention, like intending, and that you're already developing an informal practice to where you're kind of um, at a background intending so that it's easy for you to remember because you've been practicing sati. Okay. But if you only rely on sati at that level, then it will wane because it actually is a skill to be developed. It would be like this: a concert pianist who has really got a few concertos down really, really well. This week he plays this convention hall with this orchestra, and then the next hall, and then he flies and goes over there and he plays, and then he goes over there and he plays. But if that pianist isn't practicing along the way between those concerts, especially having a dress rehearsal and going all the way through that piece of music he's going to play tonight, if he doesn't do that, he's more than likely going to both screw up and hate that he screwed up because he didn't practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so Arthur Rubinstein, um, this is an old story. You young guys are not going to know this because this is when he was in his 90s, back in the 1960s, I think is the time frame. But anyway, in an interview, the interviewer asked him about his practice because, see, he's in his 90s now. He has been a world famous pianist for years and years and years. And she's asking him, okay, now that you're retired and you don't do it anymore, what kind of practice do you have? And he says, if I don't practice every day, if I miss just one day, I'll notice that. And if I miss 2 days of practice, then my housekeeper will know it. And if I miss 3 days of practice, the dog will start howling. Okay. So this is what we mean about putting in some right effort, which is a constant effort, which actually is a lot about attitude. That if you have the attitude of, wow, I really like to do this, I really like to intentionally get away from it all and spend 10 minutes getting my mind in as good a shape as I dare. That would be the way of looking at it. So now it's a kind of a joy. So every time that you think about it, you could just relax and
Yeah.
allow that time to continue for a while. So also the quality of throughout the day, when you remember to relax, the question is, how long are you going to linger in that before you go back active again?
Mhm.
Because the whole quality that we're looking at is kind of let us say, at least for a long time, the beginner will have two kinds of rules to look at, or two kinds of skills to learn. And that skill would be, one is how easy and therefore quick, but how easy it is to get the mind into a really good state. In other words, if you dip your hand into a bucket of mud, how long does it take to get the bucket of mud off your hand? Right? Well, needs some shower and you clean it off and that is take. But if you stick your hand all the way to that depth, not in mucky water, but into paint, now it's a whole lot harder to get off. But you still want to get that stuff off your hand, right? May linger there for quite a while. So this is also the kind of thinking that we do, how unwholesome it gets. And for the beginner, sometimes it sticks. And it takes us 5, 10 minutes just to get the mind into a good state. But after we keep practicing, we recognize, no, I can get the mind into a really good state fairly quickly. But then what happens is that it goes out of that whole state very quickly also, that we're in and out. The question is, can we come in and stay a while? How many breaths can we watch being long and joyful?
Yeah.
This is
That's why I felt that I needed to work on, work to practice more sati, to improve my retention of satisfaction. Because when I get satisfied and it doesn't last, I can get very quickly satisfied, but it doesn't last long. And I think
but
it's
it
because
does
I get carried away. So
because basically is because you're not putting the mind on guard now to sustain that wholesome state. And because of that, any old thought that comes by, you'll let that thought come by and off you go with it.
yes, yeah,
Okay. And so this is where we begin to develop the next part of the sati and the next part of the right effort and the next part of the investigation is to remember that even after we've gotten ourselves into a wholesome state, we have to remember to look again. What kind of thought is this? Look again. What kind of thought is this? And if we keep now going on a roll like that, we keep applying over and over again, which is the same thing as sustaining it. Okay. And so this is what you want to actually practice the most when you're in seclusion, is to applying and sustaining the mind into the wholesome. Can you stretch it into 5 or 10 minutes of satisfaction? Because generally satisfaction does not last that long. Generally, satisfaction is fleeting. The seating that satisfaction is like one of those seats on the bus that everybody wants bad enough that they're going to pull you out of it so they could sit there. That's satisfaction. Satisfaction keeps always being unseated. And so we have to go back intentionally and make sure that doesn't happen. We got to find some metaphorical way of putting the sati in a seat and put a seatbelt on so that it doesn't get pulled out. And so that's also part of the intention. The intention is to be able to guard the mind, to keep looking at it. And so that means that now our sati and our attention is beginning to move around to various things one by one as they present themselves. So we begin to sati and then to investigate and evaluate and take the right effort with the body to make sure that we're breathing well, to make sure that the body is comfortable and relaxed, and looking for any tensions and then relax that too. Meanwhile, we're doing exactly the same thing with the mind. We're looking for any kind of thought that's going to keep us from being relaxed, and we'll throw that out so that we can, in fact, have a relaxed attitude, a relaxed mind. And also, the third one that comes in is that if we can relax the body and can relax the mind, then the feelings will sure to follow. They're the ones that are the heavy duty engine of our lives, is our feelings. And the analogy of the carriage with the driver and the carriage itself and the horses and the passenger, the feelings are the horses. That's the power. Okay. That power of greed and want and whatnot like that. And so this is why we work with it in combination with the body and the mind. And so you could say the body then is carriage and the horses, and then the mind is then the driver of the carriage, but he's often asleep, and it's the passenger who really is directing the show, and he's really not paying attention very much. Okay. And so this is where we're going to start putting things together is to understand that you can take control over that carriage, but we have to be more of a, how to say, an active participant rather than merely a passenger in our own life. So the passenger then is the way that we just go along to get along, just go along with the herd, just go along with the way things have been always taught, to do things the way that we've always done. That's dangerous. And it's certainly unsatisfactory most of the time.
Yes.
So we have to now begin to practice watching what's going on. We have to practice paying attention to what the body is doing and what the mind is doing, getting them in sync and in gear so that you really enjoy watching what the body is doing. And then we can begin to pay attention to these feelings. And the feelings then are going to start out in liking and not liking, but they will grow very quickly into I want it, and then I got to have it, and then I'm doing without it. And so now actually liking something winds up in dukkha if we don't get it.
Yes, yes. Definitely noticed that can quickly grows into like obsessive thinking about something I want. And I used to just, enjoy it. And now it becomes this big.
We get gratification. We do enjoy those kind of thoughts. Wouldn't it be nice if? What about isms? We do that kind of stuff because there's a certain amount of gratification. What we're not seeing with our wisdom eye is the dangers also therein. And once we begin to see the dangers and see them clearly, then we recognize that the dangers actually outweigh the benefits. And when we can see that, that's when we can take the attitude of, well, I don't need that, and I can take care of that too. And so this is how we start then with unwholesome thoughts that we know are unwholesome. Thoughts of harming ourselves, thoughts of harming others, thoughts of taking things they're not given, all of that kind of stuff that we know would be cruel or harmful. And then we look at the other end, those kind of thoughts that we know absolutely without a doubt, for sure, these are wholesome thoughts, right? And what would that be? Everything's okay. Everything is fine. What a wonderful moment. no place to go and nothing to do, and we can just relax, have a moment off. Okay. That would be very wholesome, very restful. And compared to the unwholesome of you got to go, you got to do, you got to get up in the morning, you got to go, you got to do, all and all and all, on and on and on, you see, begins to become unwholesome because, in fact, it doesn't leave us satisfied, it leaves us unsatisfied. Unsatisfaction and having work to do leads only to more unsatisfaction. The satisfaction leads to a deeper satisfaction. And so this is why we want to practice the satisfaction of getting the body satisfied, getting the mind satisfied with the thoughts, and then we can get the feelings satisfied. Now, one of the way of satisfying the feelings is by taking some mind moments, some thoughts, the reality is that right here, right now, things are safe. The air that we're breathing is good. The temperature is not too bad. There's no snakes on the floor. Everything is kind of okay right now, and we feel comfortable, and we need to check that out. We have to make sure, yes, I am safe and secure. There are no air raid sirens blowing. The SWAT team is not breaking in the door. Right? All of the whataboutisms we can dispense with, those are always unwholesome thoughts, and we can have the wholesome thoughts of there is nothing to have any whataboutisms about. There is no danger. We're safe. So this would be a very wholesome kind of thought to have. Everything is really safe. Things are very comfortable. And with safety, security, and comfort comes satisfaction. There it is. That's what we're intending to have is, yes, I am satisfied. No, I don't want anything right now. It's almost like that you were sitting in some place or wherever you are, and every 10 or 15 seconds, a waitress comes up and says, may I have your order, please? And your answer
Yes.
is, I don't want anything right now. Thank you. I'm okay.
Okay, yeah. I like this analogy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so we actually begin to practice being satisfied that no, I don't want anything to eat right now. No, I don't have to go to the bathroom right now. Everything is okay. And so spending a fairly large chunk of time, and when I say fairly large, I'm talking about the distinction between 10 seconds and 10 minutes. That, yeah, we could do this for 10 seconds. Can we sustain it so that it lasts for 10 minutes so that it begins to build up? It gets the rhythm going. And so those are the two skills. One is to be able to get it happening for 10 seconds, get it going again for 10 seconds. But then the next skill is being able to sustain it for a while. 10, 20, 30, 40 seconds, and then we lose it, and then we pick it up again and do it for another minute or so. And then we lose it. And we pick it up and do it for 2 minutes or so. You know, that's the way that we practice. It, never mind, I'm satisfied with the progress that I'm making because I'm not making any progress. I'm learning how to stop making progress. And I'm getting very good. I'm making a lot of progress at making no progress at all. And so we become quite satisfied. And it's keeping the mind in that state of satisfaction. And then it will begin to grow during the day. There'll be all kinds of reasons for us to want to keep coming back to this. And so, yeah, for 10 seconds throughout the day, 30, 40, 50 times, that would be good. That's a very good thing to do is to learn to get into that state quite often. But then at other times, we want to get away from it all for about 10 minutes or so, maybe 20 minutes, but that's enough just to be able to get ourselves fairly quickly into that good state and then stay there. Now
Okay,
you can
yeah. So,
practice that 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times a day as your choice, and the more you do it, the more you'll like it, and the more you like it, the more you'll remember to do it. And so it becomes easier and easier that way because you're getting so much value out of it. With thoughts like, how could I have not done this all the time anyway? This is so nice.
Yeah, that's what I tell myself every time I I do it again. I'm like, wow.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
So now you can say, well, let's keep this going for a little while longer. Let's
yes.
just let it go for another breath or two and let me just maintain and just look at how nice things are right now.
Okay,
And
yeah.
so this is the basic way of practice. This is not hard to do,
Yeah, it's easy. Yeah.
but it's counterintuitive based upon all we've learned from our society.
It's the opposite. It's like doing nothing. It's like the doing of doing nothing. I mean, it kind of feels like this when I'm trying to get satisfied. Just sitting and stopping, stop the doing that's happening on autopilot.
Hmm.
And yeah,
Yes. So there was a commercial on American television during the days when cell phones were coming around, and the guy was going around in this commercial in various places, in very famous places, asking the question, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? And he did that for commercial after commercial, day after day, for years of it, until it became almost a mime or a meme in America for a few years. Can you hear me now? Okay. So we can do that also with our practices. Am I satisfied now? Or is this satisfying or what? But keeping that theme of satisfaction. Is this good enough? Am I free from want right now? Can I handle this right now? Okay. And so that would be the main question that you would ask in that sense of investigation. Is this good enough yet?
mhm.
The answer is yes, it is. It's good enough. This is good enough. Don't need anything else. And then students will have what about isms about, well, what about jhana? And what about this? And what about sotapanna? And the answer to that is those are things you think you don't have. So that's your dukkha. Come back to a state of satisfaction. That's the goal right now, is to get that satisfaction, because over time, getting it over and over again, you'll get the idea that you can get it anytime you want it. No matter how obstructed the mind gets, you know that you can come back to that state of satisfaction. That's when the winner grows. That's the attitude of a lion, the attitude of a winner. We have to practice this over and over again. Can you get yourself into that mind state? And then can you stay there in that mind state of great joy and satisfaction? Because then the next ingredient is success. We've got it. Right
Yeah,
now, I know how to do this,
mhm. Yeah,
because
yeah.
that has
That's a
its
lot
own
of
level of joy, and it also has its own level of energy. So now that you know that you've got it, then it takes very little effort to get back into that state of I know that I've got it. But if I'm not sure and I have to work very hard to get it, then that's the effort right there, working very hard to get it, all in the attitude. And so for the very beginner, a lot of effort is needed to get over their own bad attitude. Once we get the attitude changed, now it's really easy. Now it's a skill.
yeah.
And the skill basically is getting out of our own way.
And remembering too. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, remember that we are already okay, that we've got it.
I've seen how it could be very powerful at work when I coach people and stuff. If I'm doing this, if I'm remembering, I just stop doing anything while I'm doing. I don't know if that makes sense, but if I can be relaxed and satisfied while I do stuff, I feel like it's very, very effortless, and I save a lot of energy. if I'm really relaxed, and I could just see how if I would be able to do this all day, I would save like a huge amount of energy. Yeah, that's very
Yes.
impressive.
So you just gave yourself another reason to continue to have that little formality in the sitting of making sure that we get away from it all and practice so that we can get that stuff sustained.
Yeah, yeah,
Then
that's a
it'll be
good
much
reason.
easier. Then it'll be much easier when you're dealing with people.
Yes.
Hmm.
Um,
Because in fact, you deal with other people the way that you deal with yourself anyway. So if we're not happy with ourselves, then we'll be unhappy with other people. If we're happy with ourselves, then we can be happy with other people. It doesn't matter what kind of dead bird they drug into the yard. We're okay.
yeah, yes, can definitely feel that. I also had another question, kind of. It's I've noticed something that I usually do is when I get interested in some sport, maybe, or some things, um, whatever the thing, I get really obsessive about it. I mean, I have the habit of doing this, so I get really intense. I learn everything about it, and I'm getting result very quickly. Um, but it's very tiring, and I spend a lot of mind time thinking about the thing I'm doing. So I'd like to have this approach of taking it more lightly and just enjoying it and not have to think about it all the time.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm wondering how is it the lack of remembering that keeps this that's building up? Um, you
Yes,
know
that's right.
that
You,
create this
if you keep
tendency.
remembering to do it over and over again, then it has a rhythm or a roll going. So long as we're continuing to get it going. This is why the Buddha actually says mindfulness on the long in breath and mindfulness on the long out breath. So in an in out breath, that's 2 points of mindfulness right there to remember to take a long deep breath and to remember to take a long deep out breath. And then we train the mind to watch the body while it's breathing in long and breathing out long mindfully. Okay, so that's how we put all of this stuff together is we actually work with the breath, mindfulness with every breath. Even as we're investigating the mind, I investigate the mind while mindfully breathing in long and mindfully breathing out long. And it's got enormous results, enormous, great benefit, the Buddha says. Great, great fruit, great benefit. And it kind of unifies the body, the feelings, the mind, makes us integrated or whole, which is the whole point of the Eightfold Noble Path, that right noble samadhi or um, sama Aryan samadhi is the whole goal of the Eightfold Noble Path, which is also then back to the three or the Four Noble Truths. The third noble truth is being in that state, which is also very much equivalent of having all of the jhana factors together of the first jhana. So the Eightfold Noble Path and Anapanasati and the first jhana are all the same thing. And the goal is that third noble truth of getting the mind into that state of organization so that you've got the attitude you can handle anything. It's fit to work. The mind can handle anything that goes on. Doesn't matter what accusations or stones or arrows or outrageous bad things that happen. I can handle that too.
I
Can't
see.
touch. That's the attitude of the lion, that we've got this.
Makes sense.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So this is all the practices to get that attitude, and that's what puts it all together. That's what gives the mind that unification, and that makes it fit for work. Now later in the practice, we've got stuff to look at, but all the stuff that we're going to be looking at are things like these jhana factors and other things that are wholesome. So while you're spending that 10 minutes there, what you can do is you can start asking yourself, how's this feeling of fear? Where is there fear? Am I free from fear? Has the fear arisen and now passed away? That's wonderful. Okay, so congratulate yourself. I'm not afraid of anything right now. So we take a deep breath, and then we look at, am I comfortable? Am I satisfied? Is the body in a posture that I can feel just comfortable right on and on for the next few minutes? And so we can check it out. And we keep checking things out. Like, is my mind applying and sustaining? Can I keep remembering to do this? This would be a wholesome thing to look at, is the jhana factors itself. How is my attitude? Do I have the winner's attitude? Yeah, I got the winner's attitude. Yeah, I feel like whole. I feel like the mind's fit for work. So that's one of the ways of spending our time in that 10 minutes is reviewing the features of the first jhana, or reviewing the Eightfold Noble Path. And another one would be reviewing Anapanasati in the sense of doing it as you're reviewing it, or talking to yourself about this is what we're doing, and on like that. And that can be spent 10 minutes of being in a really wholesome state of thinking about what you're doing and then doing it and getting great benefit out of doing it.
Yeah, yes. Well, what I usually do for the practice is I create this. I stop doing what I was thinking or doing, and I just feel really happy and relaxed. And then I just enjoy and chill this in this relaxation. And if I feel that I'm starting up again and it's going away, and then I just let it go. Stop it again and just
Exactly.
relax.
So then we investigate that relax. Is this relaxed? Is this
Mm,
relaxed? Is
okay, yeah,
this
that's
nice? Yeah. Uh-huh. How is my relaxation? How is my get up and go? My get up and go got up and went already. I got no more get up and go. Everything is okay like it is. So this is the way that we would practice, as opposed to other ways of practice would be where people were saying, well, when's the bell going to ring? I want to go, but I'm going to stay because this is meditation time, right?
yeah.
So, a better way of thinking about it is leave your meditation in a really good state, not being glad that it's over. You probably heard this. It's about comedians, stand-up comics, entertainers, and their rule is at the end of the show, leave them laughing. Don't
Exactly.
tell a pity party and then walk off the stage. No, you leave them laughing. Okay, so that's the way that you want to leave your meditation, is to leave it laughing
Okay,
and
yeah.
let it linger even after you're gone.
So that I enjoy the everything. I mean the
Mm,
whole process.
yes, begin
Mm.
to enjoy it in the beginning as you're sitting down, in the middle as you're staying in that good state, and then in the end as you're leaving your sitting time, you leave it joyfully and happily. Hot dog, that was a good 10 minutes.
All right. Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, yeah, easy practice. Easy practice, but we need to get it stretched out so that we can let it go for. Wow, that would be so. Wouldn't that be great if you could just stay in a very happy, relaxed, satisfied state for 10 minutes?
Mm, sure.
That's almost a Guinness World Record. Well, Guinness don't know about Dhamma dudes, so that's the problem. They testing the wrong crowd.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go ahead and finish this now. I think that you've gotten
Yes.
the
Yes.
the way of going back into it, of looking at this whole thing about how good do we feel,
Mhm.
and look at the various parts of it. About, am I applying the mind on the wholesome? Can I keep it sustained on the wholesome? Is this thought wholesome too? That whole little routine to stay in that state as long as you're going to be there.
Yeah.
And
No,
then
I just
stuff happens.
practice. Yeah. Yeah. Sounds good. Thank you very much for the
All
talk.
right. We will see
Thank
you
you.
soon.
See you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.